What's inside this shit?
What's going on, all you wild ghouls and vampires? Logan Myerz here for Cinephellas.com, doing more 31 Days of Horror, the best month of the year. And we're tackling a lot of flicks this month and having a great time doing it. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the movie The Shed that is streaming currently on Shudder. I love the Shudder streaming service. If you guys aren't familiar with that service, it has everything in terms of horror for horror fans like myself and the Cinephellas. Classics, brand new content. And so shout out to the Shudder company for always putting out great content. We've been checking out a lot of stuff this month for October and Halloween. So if you guys haven't already, go over there, check out the free trial for 7 days, and then maybe subscribe to the service. It's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth the $6 a month. So tonight I'm going to be talking about The Shed that came out in 2019. Just checked out this movie. I checked out the trailer. It looked pretty interesting. So these are my thoughts on the film. Set up the film, we have a man that gets bitten by a vampire. It's like in a field, and the ancient vampire dies, and the guy takes off because sunlight is coming out, and he has to hightail it and hide out and seek refuge somewhere so he doesn't end up burning alive as a vampire. So he's bitten, trying to find shelter. He finds his shed, and he basically hides out in there. It sets up the story, sets up the first act of the film, and from the get-go it's pretty cool. I like the practical effects they use for the ancient vampire, and a cool setup. And overall cool feel from the beginning. And then we're introduced to Stan and Dahmer. They're high school buddies. They're bullied all the time. They're like geeks. And this shed is next to Stan's house. And that's when they notice weird things start happening and something to do with the shed and who lives in it. And Frank Whaley plays Bane, the vampire that's hiding out in the shed. I'm a huge fan of his. He's been in a lot of great stuff. Been acting since like the 80s and 90s. So it's cool seeing him turn into a vampire. And we have Roxy, played by Sophia, happening, and she's pretty good in the film. She's kind of the love interest, you know, the teenage girl you're going at. But this is really more or less a horror movie that tackles bullying and a real issue that we have today in 2020. So in terms of the premise, I thought it was pretty cool. It's really focusing on teenagers, these two characters in particular, what they're coming across on a daily basis. So that being said, we do get a lot of great kill scenes in this movie, a lot of great gore. I think the vampire was really well done in this movie. Probably the best part about this film. Stan and Dahmer did a really good job in these characters, what they're coming across in high school life and having to do with this vampire and what they can do to get rid of these bad kids in high school and get rid of them for good. So I think the actors did a pretty good job in these roles. I don't think the writing of them was as strong, but I think the performances were pretty solid across the board. I don't want to go into too many spoilers about this film, but the third act is definitely the best, having to do with the shed, what lies within this, having to do with this vampire. And you know it's not going to end well. And a really good solid ending where they can kind of lead this to other sequel films if they want to. But the third act was definitely the best. So checking out The Shed for the first time, I think the movie was pretty good. It wasn't great, wasn't terrible, it was just good. And they played it safe. You know, it's very similar to a lot of other films. You could tell they pay homage to a lot of other films. And I was thinking one movie I reviewed last 31 Days of Horror was The Barn. And I think that movie's way better than The Shed. Obviously, kind of similar premise, one having to do with the vampire, another movie having to do with these demonic forces that are killing people in a barn, but I think that movie's a lot better. But it's more 80s and a throwback to the 80s slasher genre, so those are movies I'm more into anyways. But The Shed was fine, you know, had some pretty good performances. The writing was not as good. You have a lot of cliche characters, but I do give the director credit, and I think the camera shots and the cinematography and everything like that, the score was really well done. This is a movie you could probably check out once and be satisfied. But if you guys are looking for a really good vampire movie during the Halloween season, I suggest Fright Night or The Lost Boys, obviously. Those are much better films, but if you're looking for something on Shudder, definitely check this out. So I'm giving The Shed, that's currently streaming on Shudder, a 3 out of 5 vampire hair pieces. So I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think of The Shed? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite vampire movie? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out from the shed up here. Hopefully those boys aren't whacking off in the tool shed. Until the next horror movie review for 31 Days of Horror. Cheers!